Alright, what's up everybody? It's your boy Akeen and welcome to part 2 of today's vlogs of my top 20 wide receivers headed towards the 2014 fantasy football season. Now for this vlog, I'm here to crack down my top 10 wide receivers entering this year's drafts. Now starting at number 10, I'm going to have to go with a surprise pick with this one, and Andre Johnson out of the Houston Texans. Now he still had over 100 receptions last season and well over 1,400 yards last year, and I think with only 5 touchdowns, hopefully he could double that up this upcoming season. Now a lot of people were concerned about his age as well as his effort, his personal trust in the team with the Houston Texans. That's a bit of a concern, but with those numbers, we all know he could do pretty well with the football in his hands. Over 100 catches, and he is over 30 years old. It's still a little bit of concern with his age, but I still think he still has it to crack the top 10 this upcoming season. At number 9, I'm going to have to go with Jordy Nelson from the Green Bay Packers. Now he had just over 1,300 yards last season, 8 touchdowns, and I think with Aaron Rodgers back at the helm at quarterback, this will happily help benefit Jordy Nelson. Even though Randall Cobb is in the lineup as well, it could take some receptions away from Jordy Nelson, but because he's such a good receiver, Aaron Rodgers cannot deny him. I think he could be good to do for a great season. At number 8, Alshon Jeffrey from the Chicago Bears. Now this was a little bit of a surprise last season. He was a sleeper at the receiver, not the number 1 sleeper. The number 1 sleeper was actually Josh Gordon from the Cleveland Browns, but he's possibly a number 2 receiver who was actually a huge sleeper at the receiver position, a big breakout season, and I think he could definitely have over 1,200 yards receiving this upcoming year. At number 7, Julio Jones from the Atlanta Falcons. Now he should be due for a great comeback season, and with him out for most of last season, that was a devastating loss in the passing game for the Atlanta Falcons, and with him back, that offense should explode a little bit better and hopefully try to make the playoffs this upcoming season. He was a part of the reason why, he was the main reason why Atlanta did not make the playoffs last season. At number 6, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears again, and Brandon Marshall. He's another great receiver. 7 straight 1,000-yard receivers at the receiver position, except for his rookie season. But I still think with that streak ahead, I think he could be due for another 1,000-yard season, and I think I actually project him this season to lead his team in receiving yards. Actually, Alshon Jeffrey led the team in receiving yards. At number 5, Dez Bryant from the Dallas Cowboys. Now he's definitely going to get a lot of touchdowns. Now for the past 2 seasons, he posted up 25 receiving touchdowns, actually second in the league for the past two seasons combined in receiving touchdowns, but he needs to get that yardage up. Now he does have well over 1,000 yards, but I think this year he could probably have over 1,400 yards and be that real elite star receiver that everybody's been looking for. He's been talking a lot of trash. They think he's the best receiver in the league. Now some people might agree with him, but for now I have to disagree with him of who I have who I have further ahead of him headed towards this year's season. At number 4, I'm going to go with Antonio Brown from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now some people believe that I should put Dez Bryant over Antonio Brown, but the reason why I'm going to have to go with Antonio Brown because he is such a great receiver. He had well over 1,400 yards receiving last season, Big Ben's favorite target, and I think because he's that leading receiver, and because due to the fact that Emmanuel Sanders is no longer with the team, that means that more of the bulk and more of the load carry will have to go to Antonio Brown at the receiver position. At number 3, I'm going to have to go with Cincinnati's A.J. Green, he had 11 double-digit games and points in fantasy play last season, showing that he could be very, very consistent. Only 5 games last season he did not post double-digit points, so we all know that from week after week he's going to give you some good, valuable fantasy points, at least 10 points, if not more. He helped me out a lot last season. He was my number 1 receiver last year. At number 2, I'm going to go with Calvin Johnson from the Detroit Lions. Now this was a major shocker for most people. A lot of people actually projected him being the number 1 receiver headed towards this year's draft, but let me explain why I have him at number 2 when I explain my number 1 player. Now last season he had 84 receptions, 1,492 yards, but with the addition of Golden Tate, I still think he's going to get some great yards and a lot of targets from Matthew Stafford with the addition of Golden Tate, and I believe that I have more trust in the ground attack from Detroit's team compared to the number 1 player's team for this year's fantasy football draft. I have to go with Calvin Johnson at number 2. Now at number number one, I have to go with the Denver Broncos, Demaryius Thomas. Now, let me explain further why I have him above Calvin Johnson. One, due to the fact that Eric Decker's no longer with the team, even though they signed Emmanuel Sanders, I think that Peyton Manning is going to look more towards Thomas's direction because they already have built a great relationship, and we don't know what the performance of rookie Cody Lattimore will do this upcoming season, even with the addition of Emmanuel Sanders. So I think that Demaryius Thomas is going to get more of the ball. Now, as far as the running game for both the Detroit Lions and the Denver Broncos, I have personally more confidence in the Detroit Lions running the game, meaning that Detroit's going to use more running the football and balance that offense a little bit more, and compared to the Denver Broncos. Now, they're having more high hopes to Monty Ball to lead the bulk of the carries and at least have over 1,000 yards rushing, but this is a pass first team, and Peyton Manning is such a great Hall of Fame quarterback. He will make it to the Hall of Fame, and I don't really have too much faith and as much confidence in Monty Ball as I do compared to Jock Boyd and Reggie Bush of the Detroit Lions. And because of that, I had to go with Demaryius Thomas over Calvin Johnson. Now, who do I think is the better receiver, the better player? It is Megatron, but you have to think fantasy points. You cannot be a fan. Fantasy points come first. This is a business, and I think that Demaryius Thomas can post up more points than Calvin Johnson did last season. He was actually second overall to Josh Gordon from the Cleveland Browns, and Calvin Johnson was third overall last season. And with Eric Decker gone, I think that Demaryius Thomas has a better opportunity to cash out more points for you players in fantasy play. Now, before I end this video, I have to give you my sleeper and bust for this season. Now, really, the bust who's already the bust this season is Josh Gordon from the Cleveland Browns. A lot of people had high hopes for him, but most of the fantasy leagues have not developed their drafts yet. So I'm going to give you another bust this upcoming season, and I think the player who could be prone to a bust this year is Alshon Jeffrey from the Chicago Bears. Now, yes, he had a breakthrough season, but that was just 1 year, and it was out of nowhere. We're not 100% sure that it's going to happen again this upcoming season. That's why he's the most vulnerable receiver who I believe who can bust this year. Now, the sleeper this season, I mentioned Josh Gordon from the Cleveland Browns. Now, he's going to be out indefinitely, and they signed Miles Austin in the offseason. So that's who I have as my sleeper this year at the wide receiver position. Due to the fact of a loss of Josh Gordon, and Miles Austin is an addition to the team. He's a veteran. He's entering his 9th season, and I think because of his great seasons for the Dallas Cowboys, I think even though he is 30 years old, he could be due for another great season, especially with Josh Gordon out. That means Miles Austin has an opportunity to rack up a lot of points. So he is going to be my sleeper this season at the wide receiver position for the 2014 year. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys will be tomorrow. I'm going to continue things on with my rankings, with my top 20 defenses / special teams for the 2014 fantasy football year. Thank you for watching today's vlogs from Pro Football Exclusive. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.